Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I thought I'd pop by and create a simple card. We've actually got a one-day special on the craft store tomorrow, Monday the 20th, and on there I've got some of my stamps being showcased by Leonie Pujol, and it's all about bargains. So I thought I'd create a card with one of the stamps that'll be on the show. But before I do, I've been asked a couple of questions about my workshops, so I thought I'd just chat about those first. If you want to see any of my workshops, if you do a search for Tracy Evans, then Tracy Evans Craft Addicts Create, Share, Inspire. This is my group on Facebook, and inside there I've got a whole list of my online workshops that are available, and I've got pre-recorded ones and I've got live ones. So just thought I'd show that. And then what I'm going to do is just go through a couple of the workshops that I've got available at the moment. So this journal page is all about the layers, but it's about layers but not using too many products. So this is using inks. So I thought I'd do a page just to use inks because sometimes they're overlooked for paints, etc. So this workshop uses inks, and just so that you can see, it's workshop 59, and it's what is it called? I actually write them down because I have to write them down because I've got quite a few workshops now, so I have to write everything down. This one is called Fragile Fragments Journal Page, and this is actually going to be a live workshop. So this is on the 2nd of October, which is a Saturday, and it's 10 AM. So it's a 10 AM start, UK time. It's workshop 59, and it's Fragile Fragments, and the workshop is £15. So I was asked to showcase that on YouTube, and also one of my other journal pages, which is this one. This is a pre-recorded one, and this is workshop 57, and it's called a mixed bag journal page. And again, this is £15, but this is a pre-recorded one. So it's already pre-recorded and it's already there for you. So nothing to do, it's all there, all ready for you to start. So that's workshop 57. And this one is the live workshop that will take place on the 2nd of October, which is workshop 59, Fragile Fragments. So if you want to join any of the workshops, if you simply email me, I will add my email address to the description. It's Tracy, Tracy, at craft-addicts.co.uk. And what I thought I'd do this time is I thought I'm going to create a card with one of the stamps that's on the one-day special. There's going to be, I think there's going to be about 5 bundles on the one-day special on the craft store. The craft store, Sky 673, I think it is. So it's going to be on the craft store. And I thought, why not use one of the stamps that are going to be on there? And I just want to create something simple. I don't want to create anything that's too complicated. And I'm just going to go for a very quick, simple card. And I'm using a DL format, which means double length. So I've got 3.5 inches by 8 inches. So it's 3.5 in width by 8 inches in length. And I'll just use the acetate from my stamp set. And I'm going to use the Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. Just make sure that you squiggle the ink pad so that you don't end up with any square lines. Don't add too much water, but don't press your ink pad like that and leave square lines on there and then spritz it with water, because you're going to end up with square lines on your card. So just mess those up with your finger if you've got square lines, just so that you don't end up with square lines on your card. And I don't want too complicated a background. I want something that has still got some white area to it, some open space. So just give that a wipe. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some fossilised amber. I love this combination. I haven't done a vintage project for a while, and I do love vintage photo and fossilised amber. The fossilised amber gives some warmth, and the vintage photo is a warm brown. It's not a cool brown, so it gives warmth to the card. So let's just add some of those dots. I like it when I end up with these little dotty elements just left on the acetate, because I like to add those little dots of ink just around the card. Just gives it another element of interest. So we'll just wipe that, seeing as how it's the actual acetate to the stamp. Just give that a spritz. And we just need to allow that to just give it time just to react with that ink. And I am actually going to dry my card. When you can, it's nice if you can actually allow the card to dry itself naturally. If you allow it to dry naturally, you don't force the colours down into the card, and therefore it keeps the vibrancy, it keeps the richness if you allow it to dry naturally. However, when you're doing a workshop, sometimes you've got to dry your card so that you can move on to the next step. Yes, I could have one already prepped, but sometimes when I do a video, I just go with the flow and I don't necessarily have everything prepped all the time. So just plugging that heat tool in. I've given it a little bit of time just to rest with that water, just so that you get these little patches here of the water just reacting with the oxide, and you can see the oxidization here as well. So just give that a dry. And what you can do is you can go in with more layers if you wish to give more richness and more depth. I don't want the background to get too dark. I want to keep some of the lightness, and I want to keep some of the open space. So I don't want it to get too dark. That's just me. You can just decide how you want your background. If you continue with the layers, you get a lovely, beautifully rich background. So it works really well. That's still quite a bit wet. So just giving that a dry, and I'm using Pink Frog Smooth White Card. And the idea of this card, I think, is I'm not doing anything, nothing you haven't seen before, nothing too complicated. But sometimes it's about the overall design. It's not always about having something that's too complicated. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking in my stencils. I'm hoping there's one stencil. I always place the stencils, obviously they're in no order, I just place them in a drawer. So I'm just looking through the drawer just to see if one of the stencils that just grabs me. Of course, the stencil I want, let's pull the drawer out, and then we might find it a little bit better. So let's just pull that drawer out. So I've just pulled the drawer out on my stencils. So I'm either going to use a number one. I'm just wondering if there's anything with a little bit finer detail. It's always the case, isn't it, when you're looking for... I wasn't going to use a stencil, you see, that's why. Ah, that's better. That one will be better. And I will add the detail of the stencil in the description. So this just gives me a little bit of fine detail in the background. I don't want anything too overpowering. So I'm just going to applied the vintage photo to my cut and dry foam. Let's not apply it to the black area. So just apply that vintage photo, and I'm just going to apply a light layer just like so. I don't want it to be too much. I don't want it to detract from my focal image, but I would like a little bit of detail in there. So just so that you can see that, you've just got a little bit of detail in that background. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I'm going to use the poppy stamp. I adore this stamp. It's actually another one of my favourites. I was pleased with the way it turned out, and I just love the detail on it. And if you wanted, you don't have to use the whole stem. You can make them a little bit shorter if you wish, but just make sure that you've got a good layer of ink. Now if I wanted, you could add poppies here, poppies there, poppies here, so it doesn't have to be how it's set out on the stamp. Sometimes it's nice to turn your card just on the side, just to make it a little bit easier for you to stamp with. Now just allow that ink to soak into the card. You've got those layers of oxide, and those layers of oxide have got a moisture in there. Even though I've dried, I know I've dried with my heat tool, but there's still moisture within that card, so you need to allow it to rest on there. So just give that a little bit of time just to rest. There we go. Just look at that for a beautiful image. You know, I know they're my designs, but I just think that is a stunning image. I really do. And if you wanted, you could add a little bit of the poppy here as well, just on the side there. I just want it like it is, but you could add more than one. So let me see if, do you know, as per normal, I've left a load of things on my desk. But can I find my little Inktense pencil? Oh, I can. So what I'm going to do is grab my Inktense pencil, grab my old water brush, and then what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of shading just down the side here, just to make it stand out a little bit, just to make it a little bit more 3D. And just add that down there. You could use your pastel pencils. You could even use a HB pencil and just smudge it out. So you could do that as well. So I'm just adding a bit of shading to one side. And I'm going to take a little bit of water. So I'm using this stamp set because I often find, as a designer, it's always about the next release. It's always about what you're going to design next. So I do like to revisit the older set because as a designer, I'm still beautifully attached to every design I create. I love them for a reason. So it's so lovely to actually revisit, because there's nothing wrong with the stamps, it's just that they were bought out sooner. But it's lovely to be able to revisit them. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shading around this one as well, just to make it a little bit more 3D. Just make that a little bit more 3D. Oh, and I tried to put my lid then on my pencil. So just add a little bit of shading down here. And it's lovely because you can still see the detail. Just gives it a little bit of depth. just so that you can see that it gives it a little bit of depth on there. Now, what I thought is we can stand a little character on here. So I think I'm going to use the fox. This is stamp set 467 because I love to combine the stamps. So it's up to you who you have on there. So I'm going to have the little fox. So this is the up, up and away stamp set. Let's get a little acrylic block. Just to use the little fox. And I'm going to stamp him on a separate piece of card. I try to bend on my chair without actually moving the chair. One of these days I'm just going to fall completely head over heels because it's just the things I do at times. So just take my little fox. Like so. There we go. Let's grab that HB pencil, mainly because I've got the HB pencil here. Just grab a paper stump. And I'm just going to add a little bit of shading with my HB pencil. If you wanted to do the fox in oranges and browns, or the fossilised amber and browns, that's fine. I just don't want him to be lost in the background. I will colour my scarf and probably make my scarf in fossilised amber. And I'm just going to use my paper stump just to smooth that out. I'm leaving a bit of lightness in the centre area here. So just use my paper stump. I'm using a 2HB pencil. And I'm leaving a bit of lightness here in the centre. It's better to leave it first time around rather than try to put it in. You can put it in with white pens. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit more shading, a little bit more depth underneath his scarf and just underneath his little arms. Just add that little bit of shading under there. A little bit more shading under there. There we go. Let's put those back so that we can actually remember where they are when we go back to them. So what I'm going to do now is just use a different water brush, just so that I don't get that grey Inktense pencil. So I'm just using the fossilised amber, and I'm just going to add a little bit of colour. Just to his scarf. A little bit more depth there. A little bit more depth there. It's only a little scarf, so it doesn't need much colour. There we go. And I'm now going to cut my little fox out. I'm going to leave a little white border because I find him easier to cut out with a little white border. If you don't want to cut the legs out, don't worry, you can stamp the fox directly onto your project and then you can overlay this over the top. And then you've got the legs. So don't feel you have to cut those thin legs out. But by leaving a little white border, does make it a little bit easier. I find it's a little bit easier anyway. Just, there we go. Just cut that out. There we go, we've got our little fox. So there he is, bless him. So we can add the little fox onto the postage stamp here. So let's add him to the postage stamp. And it just means if you've got the up and away stamp set, you can add it with your poppy. Janet Pring did one as well, did a card with little characters that you can add. So just add him there, like so. And we'll leave his little scarf sticking up because then it looks like it's blowing in the wind. It gives it a little bit of movement, if that makes sense. It really does give it a little bit of movement. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is make a complete mess like I normally do, moving everything. Going to get my quickie glue pen. So I've got a quickie glue pen. These are very inexpensive, and I'm just going to add a little few squiggles here and there, just a few dots here, a few dots on the little poppy seed head. So I'm adding dots of the quickie glue pen. So just dots. So just add, and now I'm just drawing round certain areas just a bit with the quickie glue. Just randomly. I'm not thinking about it too much. There we go. And what we need to do is we need to let that just dry clear. I love using the quickie glue pens because it's such a quick method. Not everything has to be quick, but it's nice and quick to when you're doing a video. So I'm going to add some little gold leaf, but I think that's all gone clear now. Yes. So what I'm going to do is pick up my gold flakes. Try not to speak or blow anything anywhere, which is often easier said than done. And then I'm just going to place, I can't even pick this up, some of the foil just in different places where I know I've added. And you'll know because the leaf sticks, so it works quite nicely. So just pick up a few sheets. If you've got the sheets, that obviously makes it easier. I haven't got the sheets, I've just got some little flakes. So that's exactly what I'm using. So I'm just dabbing. Oh, now a big clump's going to come out. You know that, don't you? Let's just push this in. It's all going to stick to my hand because that's what it does. And then I get it everywhere as well. Looks nice on my nails. So then I'm just going to rub just rub it over. You can use a stiff cloth if you need to. But what you get is you get some little touches of gold just to bring that to life, which works quite nicely. And now my daughter's ringing me just as you're doing a video. Just bear with me a second. So that's what happens when you record videos and you've got children, you see. They always ring you when you least expect it. So as you can see, you've got those beautiful, beautiful touches of gold. Now I don't want to overcrowd this too much, but I just want a little bit more detail. So what I want is my VersaFine Clair pine cone. Let's move that out the way. I've got that many things on the go at the same time. Don't know whether I'm coming or going. A bit of gold leaf there. And then we're going to use my Reckoner Digits stamp set, which is 543. We're using that because it was on my desk. Let's make sure we've got it the right way. We can test that anyway, I can't really tell. Always test if you've got this stamp set the right way round. Sometimes isn't easy to tell. No, so it's that way. So just using my Reckoner Digits, and I'm just going to add a few numbers here and there to the design. I just want it in 3 places, but I don't want it to be too much. There we go. I don't want it to overpower the design. So that's using the Pine Cone VersaFine Clair ink pad. Don't know why I'm putting it away because I'll probably need it again. And I'm just going to add some white splatters. Now I could add a 3D element to the poppy, but I want to keep it not too much because I've done that quite a few times, so I don't want to do that every single time. So what have we got on here? So let's find a sentiment. Let's find my sentiment stamps. So let's find a sentiment. It's that many sentiments now, I can't even make my mind up. Too much choice, you see. Oops. Maybe capture each moment. Do I want that? Capture each moment, vintage, creative. Today is your day. No, today is your day. Oh, do you like how many times I changed my mind? I'm terrible. So today is your day, because then I can use it for birthdays or whatever. So I'm going to stamp that in the pine cone ink. Today is your day. And I love the fact that I've got sentiments to pick from. So it works quite nice that I've got so many sentiments to pick from. So that's on my sentiment stamp set. Bring on the sentiments. And it's stamp set 533. But that gives me the options of lots of sentiments. We'll just cut that out. So I am going to keep that in white. So it's entirely up to you where you place that, but I quite like it here. Today is your day. So just going to stick that down. I think never mind doing gardening, which I've been doing. I think I need to have a tidy up in the craft room. Such a mess. Today is your day. There we go. And I don't want to add any shading because I just want that shading to be on the flower where it just stands out. Just so that you can see that. If you wanted, you could also cut the sentiment out. You see, I've put that on there, and let me discuss something with you. I've put that card, that sentiment on there. Let me just wipe that off. And what I'm thinking is, I prefer it cut up. I'll tell you why. When I place the sentiment on like that, because it splits the poppy up, I don't quite like it as much. Don't like how it splits the poppy in half. So I'm going to put today all cut up, and then add this here, just so it doesn't break the poppy up too much. I prefer it. Yes, it's been fussy, but it's just what I prefer. So I prefer it that way than actually cutting the poppy in half, just so that you can see that. Then the poppy stays as a whole image, which is the way I like it. So now I will add a bit of shading. The top's come off my glue, like my little jewel. So I am going to add that little bit of shading just around the sentiments. Now you would wait until your sentiment pieces were dry. You wouldn't do it while they're wet like I'm doing. Yes, I much prefer it like that. But this is why when you're experimenting, you know, it doesn't have to, you know, it doesn't always go to plan the first time. You sometimes change something and it looks much better, which is what I like to do. Just adding that bit of shading around them. There we go. Just so that you can see that. You can see the touches of gold. And if is this a bit sticky? Where the glue was, that's absolutely fine. Let's take some gold leaf and apply some gold leaf where that stickiness is. Where we added that adhesive, you know, when we placed the sentiment the first time. So we just added a little bit of gold leaf. But you can see the poppies look dimensional. They look like they're standing off the card because of the 3D element. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply that to a black mat. It always looks better when you mat and layer everything. So just bend that card a little bit so it isn't fighting against you. So just add that. Take your time. I like to stand above my projects because then I can judge a lot better how they're being adhered to the card. So then I'm going to stick that, try and work on a clean surface. I'm going to apply that to a white card blank. Now, the 1/4 inch difference in each card piece. So I started off with 3.5 inches by 8-inch piece, and I've gone up by 1/4 inch each time. So my card blank is 4 inches in width by 8.5 inches in length. Just take your time just to get that all level. And then what you can do is you can add an insert if you wish. You could just put the little fox on the insert, just add a little bit of the colour and a little bit of the fox on the insert. So I need 3.5 inches by 8 inches, I think it was, 3.5 by 8 inches. And then you can just add, let's just take this. I've got so much stuff everywhere. Where's that bit of acetate? So you can just take a little bit of the fossilised amber, a little bit of the vintage photo, and I mean a little bit, nothing too much, just a little bit of water. Don't add too much, and just add a little bit of that colour just to the inside of the card. Add some of those little dots as well, just so it looks more natural. There we go. Just clean that acetate. Just give that a bit of a dry. You've not used much water, so it shouldn't be too bad. And then take your little fox, we'll add in with the black. Just stamp your little fox. Again, you've got wet ink, so just allow him to rest on there. Even though it doesn't take much to stamp him, just give him time to rest. There we go. And then just add a little bit of shading. Wrong water brush. Let's just to ground him a little bit. There we go. Just so that you've got your little fox in there. Just make sure that's dry. I can still see a little bit of moisture. And then we can add this to our insert. Let's move this all out the way so you can see. Let's open our little card and just add this to the insert. So what you've got then is you've got your card, just so I'm just tilting that so that you can see the touches of gold. There's the little fox, and then If you go on the inside, you've got your little fox on the inside as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed Leonie's shows with my stamps, which is tomorrow, Monday the 20th. The show is at 6 p.m. and then 8 p.m. and then on the Tuesday at 8 a.m, 12 midday and 4 p.m. So thanks ever so much everybody for watching. Thank you for joining me, and thank you to all my new subscribers. Have a lovely week ahead, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.